Well, good evening. It really is a pleasure to be here. Some of you may know that my wife is from Cincinnati, and I've been coming here over 45 years and had a chance to play here a number of times. So it's almost like coming home here tonight. So the theme of the program tonight is the universality of the guitar. In fact, almost every musical culture has some relative of the guitar, a plucked chordophone. And so I'll take you on a little journey, I think, but I'm going to start with music from the country perhaps most associated with the guitar, Spain. And I'm going to do a piece by the great composer Joaquín Turina. And when he was just studying, he went to Paris, and he was enamored of the Impressionist style of music that his contemporaries, Debussy and Ravel, were writing, and tried to write in that style. And his friend Manuel de Falla told him, Joaquín, you should go back to Spain and write Spanish music. And he did that, and not long after, he met a young guitarist named Andrés Segovia, and they started a long collaboration together. I'm going to play the first piece that Turina wrote for Segovia, and it really shows these two styles merged. It's called the Fantasia Sevillana, and it's based on a flamenco dance from Turina's hometown of Seville, the Sevillanas. But as you'll hear, it has many elements of that Impressionist style that he so admired. Finally, I'd like to point out that the very beginning of this piece has just about the most basic thing you can have on the instrument. It's just a strum on the open strings. So anyone can play the beginning of this piece. It gets a little harder as it goes along. I'd like to play a piece by the great Hungarian composer Béla Bartók, who is regarded as one of the most important composers of the 20th century, but also not as well regarded as in his role as a musicologist. It turns out he and his friend Zoltán Kodály traveled throughout Hungary and Transylvania and this area with kind of rudimentary recording devices and captured melodies and songs by peasant musicians that might have been lost forever. And they very carefully cataloged them into these collections. And a lot of Bartók's sort of neo-nationalistic music featured some of these melodies. So the piece I'm going to play now is originally for piano, and it's called the Sonatina, and it's based on Transylvanian songs. I don't think Dracula is in this one, but so the first movement is called Bagpipers, and I think when you hear the opening, you'll understand that association. And the middle section is based on some different tunes by flute players. The second piece is called the Bear Dance, and you can almost imagine a lumbering dancing bear in this one. And the finale has actually 3 different of these Transylvanian melodies. noticed that there's a second guitar here. And you may be wondering, why does he have two guitars? Well, it's because the composer of the next piece asked for a special tuning, specifically that the lowest string, the sixth string, be tuned an octave lower than the fifth string. So it's fitted with a extra low bass string. I'm especially pleased to play this piece here because the composer, her name is Golfam Khayam. She's a composer living in Tehran, Iran, but she actually got her master's degree here and probably performed on this stage when she was here. This is one of a group of pieces that I commissioned about 7 years ago in a project I called the Diaspora Project. And I asked different composers to kind of ruminate on their feelings about cultures that move from their homeland to different places, displaced or migration or immigration. And I got a beautiful array of pieces, but I think Golfam's is one of the most moving. So Golfam, as I mentioned, studied here. She also studied in Geneva with my good friend Dušan Bogdanović. We'll hear a piece by him later. But after some time, she decided to move back to Iran and have a family, even though she has a very vibrant career. But the piece is called Lost Land. And it's basically her own feelings of coming back to her home country after many years and almost not recognizing it. And so there's this sense of disassociation, almost like you're lost in a labyrinth. In fact, the tempo marking at the beginning is quasi adagio disorientato. And then there's a section later on that's simply called vertigo. As you'll hear, Golfam is an expert in Persian ornamentation and improvisation, so there's a kind of this attitude about the piece. Despite what's happening in the world right now, I'm sending my best thoughts to Golfam and her family. So here is Lost Land. I'll finish up the first half with a piece by a dear friend of mine. His name is Ian Krouse. When I arrived at USC as a punk freshman in 1977, Ian was there getting his master's, and I was so enamored of his playing, but also of his composition. He ended up having to give up guitar playing, but thankfully became a really eminent composer. He's written a number of major works for my group, the LA Guitar Quartet, among others. And one of the pieces he wrote for us was a piece that really kind of blew the lid off of guitar repertoire at the time. It was called Labyrinth, on a theme of Led Zeppelin, where we played with a pick and we had to sing and play bottleneck slide and all this stuff. So this piece that I'm going to play now, he wrote many years later for solo guitar, and it's sort of a companion piece to Labyrinth. It's called DADGAD, and for those guitarists in the audience, you know what that means. That's my tuning right now. I'm D, A, D, G, A, D. So it's an open tuning that's usually used in Celtic music. It's much more common in Celtic and folk music. And the genesis of this piece, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, on their third album, recorded a solo piece that he called Black Mountainside, which was, it's kind of complicated. It was a version of an old folk song that another previous guitarist named Bert Jansch played, and he called it Black Waterside. So it's complicated, but anyway, this is kind of Ian Krouse amalgamation of the Jimmy Page version and the Bert Jansch version, and then a lot of Ian Krouse. But basically, it's exploring the folk, blues, rock potential of the classical guitar. Now I'm going to play some music from Cuba. If you frequent guitar concerts, I'm sure you've heard the name Leo Brouwer before. He's arguably the most important living classical guitar composer, and he's written for many other media, especially film. And I think he's 85 now, and he's still writing almost as prolifically as he ever has. He's kind of amazing. But the pieces I'm going to play are actually arrangements he did when he was just in his teens, living in Havana. And these are both folk songs, popular folk songs that both could be sung to children. So the first one, it's called the Afro-Cuban Lullaby, and it's based on a song called Durume Negrita, which more or less translates to mean sleep, little one, sleep. And it basically portrays a mother tiptoeing into the nursery and singing to the babe, sleep, little one, even though carnival is going on outside, you need to sleep. And then finally, when the babe falls asleep, she tiptoes out. The second one is called the Danza, Carecterística, or the Characteristic Dance, and it's based on a song that would be sung to older children. It's called Quítate de la Acera, which loosely translates to get out of the street. And so it's about a little boy who lives in downtown Havana, and when the piece starts, you can hear the kind of hustle bustle of the city and cars beeping, and he's playing like in the middle of the street, and his mother sees him from the apartment window and yells at him, get out of the street. And he obliges. He goes out again, and she has to sort of encourage him to obey, let's say. And he's very contrite at first, but sure enough, it wears off, and he's out there playing again, and she has to yell again. But finally, at the end of the piece, the street sounds are very muffled because he's inside. He's okay. So here's two folk song arrangements by Leo Brouwer. Now I'd like to play another of the pieces that were commissioned for the Diaspora project. And this is by a wonderful composer from Philadelphia. Her name is Andrea Clearfield. She was the only non-guitarist that I asked. And in addition to her expertise as especially a choral composer, she's very sought after in the women's chorus field. She also, like Bartók, is a musicologist, but her area of study was the music of Tibet. And she actually did 2 field trips right onto the border of Tibet into Bhutan and met with musicians and singers and captured their music. And one particular gentleman, he was the last surviving court musician from Tibet. His name is Tsering Wangmo, and he sang a song to her, which was an ode to the Dranyen. And the Dranyen is a kind of sort of relative of the guitar. It's sometimes called the Himalayan lute. And it's a long-necked instrument with some drone strings, 3 strings. And it's sometimes played with a pick, sometimes hit with a stick on the strings. And in her rendition, this is her piece called Reflections on the Dranyen. It's almost like her own response to the Dranyen itself, and almost a conversation. When we were working on this together, she showed me a video of some traditional Tibetan musicians playing on it, and they were dressed in colorful traditional garb, and there were 3 of them playing the Dranyen, and they as they were playing, they did this dance across the stage that looked like it was stolen by Chuck Berry. I gotta say. So I was surprised at the kind of shuffle, boogie-woogie kind of rhythm that this music can sometimes have. So here is Reflections on the Dranyen by Andrea Clearfield. Well, I mentioned Dušan Bogdanović before. Dušan is, to my estimation, one of the most interesting and important guitar composers today. I'm also very lucky that he's a dear friend of mine. He's from Serbia, but he lived for some time in Southern California, got to know him very well. And now he lives in Geneva, where he was teaching for many years. That's where Golfam, Khayam, was studying with him. So Dušan has written music in just every conceivable style. You know, of course, Balkan music, Indian ragas, Japanese temple bell pieces, 16th century imitative counterpoint, jazz. It goes all over the map, but it always sounds like Dušan too. That's the thing that's amazing. But one of his real fascinations has been African music, and he's actually done like deep research into African rhythms and polytonality. And so I'm going to play one of his pieces. It's called Three African Sketches. And the outer movements really feature this kind of polyrhythmic idea, and, two different time signatures going on at once, but also they imitate the sound of the kora, which is a kind of traditional harp from Africa that has this wonderfully rattly sound. The middle movement is, again, a lullaby. The bass line is an actual traditional lullaby that he set with an ostinato and a free cantabile melody. So here are three African sketches. common household staples. So you just take a staple and you bend it like that, and then it's the corners, first string, second string, and it just connects the two strings, so when you pluck one, it rattles the other one. It's very simple. I don't recommend using a staple gun. Let me check this. Up with two pieces based on the most American of music forms, jazz. These are both by good friends of mine who kind of can cross over from classical to jazz. The first is by the wonderful Fred Hand, great name for a guitarist too. And Fred is an amazing composer, but most known for this kind of hybrid style. And I'm going to play a piece by him called Missing Her, which is, it's a ballad that then goes into a kind of jazz waltz. And then I'll finish up with a piece by Brian Head. Brian, let's see, he was my student at USC and now he's my boss. He's a professor of guitar, composition, theory. He's also the dean of academic affairs, and he's also the artistic director of the Guitar Foundation of America. You know, your basic underachiever. So when he was probably in his teens, he lived in Baltimore and he was taking jazz guitar lessons from a teacher in Washington, D.C. And he would take the train and get off at the Brookland stop in Washington. And so the Brookland Boogie is him with his guitar, you know, boogieing to his lesson. thank you very much. And thanks to all the organizers of this wonderful Guitar Week. I so wish I could attend all the concerts to come up. I have to play in Baltimore in a couple of days, so I have to scoot out. But thanks especially to Chris Wilkie for setting this whole thing up. It's fantastic. And also to play in this incredible hall. I'm going to finish up with a piece where we started, a piece from Spain. This is by Manuel de Falla, and it's from his ballet, The Three-Cornered Hat, and it's called The Miller's Dance.